Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. It is I, Mighty Sophia, also known as Emily Sophia, and I'm here to break down for you guys the latest episode of The Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 3, Four Walls and a Roof. So, spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I will, without hesitation, be sharing all in this review. And just so you guys know, I did actually get to watch this episode live tonight. If you want to join me for my occasional live tweeting fest, you can follow my Twitter, link in the description down at the very bottom. But since I watched the episode live tonight, it is currently nighttime as I review this episode, and there are people in my house who actually sleep at this godforsaken hour, whereas I'm ready to boogie oogie oogie with you guys, but yeah, so I'm gonna try to be as entertaining and informative as possible and keep the volume at a reasonable level so that it's not too awkwardly quiet. But, you know, just little disclosure because I have no idea what the volume of this review is gonna be like. So without further ado, let's get right into the business. So this was one of those episodes that got me up and out of my seat and screaming and celebrating, and I was ready to be on the dance floor. I mean, it was the high highs and the low lows, but everything was just done so fabulously, and smart decisions were made, and potentially really ludicrously stupid situations were totally averted, and brilliantly and gloriously, and the angels descended from the heavens to sing the Hallelujah chorus. I mean, rest in peace, Bob, all things aside, but the way in which the hunters were so completely and utterly dealt with. I mean, I have to tell you guys, Breaking Bad fans, that I kept thinking to myself, that quote of Mike's from Breaking Bad, no more half measures. I mean, you can just picture Mike lecturing Walt about the time that he didn't fully interfere with the wife beater guy, lets him off, gives him a chance to redeem himself, and what do you know? Guy kills his wife. Same situation with Rick's party and the hunters while they decided to proceed onward from Terminus and from fully decimating their ranks in order to start their new life, move to DC, do all the things together, big happy family time. Nobody wants to interrupt that with a good old killing spree, but we definitely see how that bit them in the butt, or shall we say, in Bob's leg. So the fact that, and my brother and I, we talk about this a lot, we watch the show together. There's this thing that he refers to as plot stupidity or something along those lines, and I would use the same term as well, where it's happened a lot in the shows. See, for example, Season 2, basically the entire season, where characters just make really stupid, poor decisions that really don't seem to fit their level of experience and skill and know-how in order to introduce a new conflict into the plot. Now, my brother was afraid of this, and I must say that I had more faith than he at the time. He was afraid that as, of course, all the fighters among the ranks of Rick and company, all of them were taken off to head to the school that Bob told them about. The hunters thought that they were setting up a trap for their group by going in and infiltrating the church while its most vulnerable members were there, taking what they could get, etc., etc. It was distinctly possible that everybody was pissed enough that they were just going to take Bob's word for, you know, what was the last camp, the last residence of the hunters, go there, everybody else gets taken, but in fact, the hunted down the hunters and set for them a trap. And so just so many reasons to celebrate. I did not, honestly, I did not even shed a tear this episode despite, you know, letting go of Bob, but he had so many brilliant moments to shine and to impart wisdom. You know, the quote about how nightmares end, they shouldn't change who you are, you know, or what was the wording? I tweeted it out. Let's access my Twitter for the nightmares, yeah, nightmares end, they shouldn't end who you are. That's the word. So, you know, nice bit of wordplay, English major in me, my heart was beating hard. It was a really good moment, and it also gave a way for Tyrese to reconnect with the necessary violence of the apocalypse, that he was the one who put down Bob instead of putting that on Sasha, etc., etc. So again, just a lot of good decisions made and tough decisions with seeing the group split. One half is taken off for DC, going to invest in the future and potential end of the apocalypse, whereas the rest were deciding to wait it out for Carol and Daryl, whom they trusted to return from their little mission. And we see that at the end of the episode. That appears to be the case. Of course, they cut it at a really interesting point, but I'll speak about that more later. So anyway, wow, I am bouncing all over the place in this episode. Yeah, but so we've got Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham, as well as Maggie and Glenn. They promised the night before taking off that if Abraham and his group would stay just long enough to help them through this ordeal with the hunters, that they would in fact leave with him. So what was great about this episode is we saw a lot of characters sticking to their word. Rick followed through with his word on Gareth, and Maggie and Glenn followed through with their word about promising to go with Abraham and his group. They are able to part on a cordial note, not something that we often get in this show. The goodbyes were said, resolve, and, balance restored to the universe in a lot of ways. And so I'm very, very excited for next week with learning about Beth's story. It has been postulated by people on the internet, as well as myself on the internet, that the reason why they cut the episode where they did with Daryl looking into the woods and saying, "Hey, you can come out now," is that not only is Carol hiding in the bushes, but Beth is with her. That is the main theory, and I would believe that to be true, but I think it would be interesting if she came back so soon, because I thought that there was going to be a longer arc with her disappearance. But this could make for a very exciting episode next week. Very little wasted time. Not only I anticipate that not only for the next episode, but I have seen that demonstrated in this season so far. The pacing has been absolutely excellent. Really digging the cinematography. They're kind of staying away from some of the TV cliches as far as mise en scène and presentation, whatnot. Things are just feeling really good. So, quick mid-vlog edit. Some people on Twitter also brought to my apparently very crappy attention that it is also distinctly possible that there was no Carol in the bushes, but instead just a Beth, and a very, very sickeningly sad backstory about why Carol isn't there. So, thanks for ruining my life. I didn't even have that on my clearly blissful radar, so I'm going to acknowledge that as a distinct possibility as well and cry myself to sleep. So back to the rest of the vlog. I'll go ahead and walk you through my reactions and analyses and things about other aspects of the episode that I haven't spoken about yet. And again, I'm really sorry that I cannot seem to move in a linear straight line when it comes to these reviews. It just doesn't happen with me. I don't script these. I literally plop down at my computer, turn on my camera, and say whatever comes in my head. So I'm lucky that my cranial capacities are not totally shot. Otherwise, things could be quite bad. But yeah, so we got to see some really cool moments with Gareth before he was most brutally bid adieu. But he has such a fascinating philosophy, he and his group, the ideas that they share and the things that keep them afloat, the ways that they survive, and the struggles that they endured as well. I mean, it makes for very complex characters. Granted, we didn't get to linger on them very long in the grand scheme of the show, but I think that they really got the chance to shine. And of course, I love the subversion of expectations with, we think that perhaps Gareth is going to rise as this new governor type of figure, spanning the seasons with his reign of terror. But that's just not the case. People are dispatched quite quickly in this show. Others stay far longer than we ever could have hoped and dreamed. And it's always that element of surprise. That is something that this season has definitely capitalized on so far. And I'm very, very ecstatic about it. It is definitely, this could very well be my favorite season yet. Anyways, so when he was talking about It was the bear analogy that he was making to Bob while he was sitting at the stake watching his universe being ripped apart, and I could not help but sing, I was singing the Bare Necessities song from the Jungle Book, you know. It's the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna eat your face. You know it's bare necessities and Mother Nature's recipes, you know, all that jazz. I am the master. This is my not-so-secret skill. I am the master of parodies. I can make them completely on the fly. Most of that was ad-libbed aside from my idea about the bare necessities song before, so you're welcome. Or I'm sorry. You're welcome / I apologize. Anyway, so, and then we got this, oh, just such a satisfyingly visceral moment with Bob just freaking the crap out. He is going full on Joker laughter status, and those of you who have read, I believe that this is something that ties in with the comics. I haven't read the scene or seen any of that, but the part where Bob introduces the fact that they don't know exactly what they are dining on. If you are what you eat when you're eating the dead and dying, then you are soon to be gone. So that leads me to my next stupid song parody that I'm gonna grace you with. I came up with these lyrics for the chorus of that Tainted Love song. You know that Soft Cell, was that the band? I don't even remember now, but you know the song. If you don't, I'm going to introduce you to my little chorus that I came up with. This I came up with on the fly, and I had to write it down. So, gonna sing it for you now. So, tainted meat, okay. Once I fed you, now I'm dead to you. This tainted meat you've swallowed, I've given you all a grave so hollow. Take my flesh and go and join the dead. Tainted meat, whoa, tainted meat. Nah, you know, etc., etc. So that was a fun moment. I like to make up songs as I watch The Walking Dead for whatever reason. So there you go. That was really fun. And again, just such a great performance put on by Mr. Lawrence. He definitely got the chance to mature and round out as a character before he left us this week. And I think that's why I wasn't quite so heartbroken, because I thought previously that the last time we saw him was going to be where he was at the end of last week. And I just didn't know how to compute that, and I was ready to just sit on my emotions and hopefully they would just dissipate into the earth and leave me forever. But the way that everyone got to say their goodbyes and interact with him, the wisdom that he imparted, like I said, it was really things ended on quite a positive note for him. Definitely turned his little sitchmahoozy around from last week. So that was fantastic. And then of course we've got the really tense scene in the church where we've got a little bit of a civil war going on. As first of all, everyone is blaming Gabriel. It's Gabriel, right? For some reason I keep trying to confuse his name with someone else, but everyone's blaming Father Gabriel for being involved in the disappearance of 3 of their groupies. And while we know that the disappearance of 3 of them cannot be owed to the hunters and to Gabriel being in the mix, we know this, we see why they make those connections, and even I was thinking previously that Father Gabriel could be a malicious figure. But I think that this episode really demonstrated that he's, as a man of the cloth, he is cut from a different kind of cloth, and any sinisterness about him is demonstrated by just in his own sin, what he perceives as his sin, his failing to serve God, to uphold the sanctity of the church, etc., etc. So, and Rick rails on him, words, and Sasha does the same, and then ultimately Abraham's reaction is, we gotta go, we are out, hitting the road. Stat. And Eugene had this hilarious moment. He just turned into this tiny, innocuous little boy. Abraham's like, come on, we gotta go. And he's like, I don't want to. So, oh, it cracked me up. I live for those little moments in this show. But then ultimately, of course, promises are made, compromises are arrived at, and then of course everything is set into motion with the group pretending to go and find the latest camp of the hunters, and then we all have to sit in suspense and wait and see exactly what's going to unfold, and could they really be that stupid. There's also a really funny moment, of course, when the hunters enter the church and they are slowly making their way down the aisle, trying to break down everyone's sense of resolve and endurance by naming them one by one, knowing so intimately their weaknesses and simply not knowing their location, you know. So they're going on a baby hunt and don't know how to weed them out. That was a SpongeBob reference. I am just full of weirdness tonight and I don't even care. Anyways, so we're all hanging in suspense and I am just screaming, half measures, guys. I just, you know, you gotta learn from Breaking Bad, like Walking Dead. People, you are under the same roof as AMC, which did Breaking Bad, so therefore you should know the knowledge and other things from Breaking Bad, so that's just the way that I work. But anyways, there's the camera focused in on this little sign in the church that said something like, stupidity is also a gift from God, but one mustn't misuse it? Like, what? I grew up in the church, and I am a woman of faith, but I've never heard a freaking thing like that in my life, and that just cracked me up. And so here we are thinking as the audience, like, whoa, are the writers having this crazy self-aware moment where they are acknowledging the stupidity of what is occurring and everything, you know, just we get that little grain of irony that they know exactly what they've done? Or is it something else entirely? Like, who's playing stupid here? And the hunters think that the group is playing stupid when in fact they are the ones who have been hoodwinked and bamboozled into the ultimate trap and demise at the hands of Rick and the I need to come up with like a fun band name for just the group, because I'm always saying like Rick and Company, but you know, Rick and Bad Company. I have no idea. I'll figure something out over the course of this season, I'm sure. And oh man, when they bust in just at that perfect moment, spice of my life. That was just, I was screaming like, I am not a watcher of sports. This is my sport. They are my team, and I am repping them, heart, soul, mind, body, every part of me. It was just so ridiculously cathartic to see everything go down the way it did. And I was just yelling. I was like, bullets, skulls, guns, weapons, point, shoot, bye-bye. Like, I was freaking out at how much they were hesitating, but the fact that they still maintained control that entire time, and everybody died on Rick's terms, on Sasha's terms, it was a very brutal group effort, but at long last Gareth kneeled before Rick and just this, oof. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Rick be on top of things this season. He is my number one man. You shall not take him away from me. But indeed we saw that no more half measures here. Not for this group. This was not their first rodeo. For anyone who had any inkling of doubt, well, I hope that you're all feeling as good as I am, because clearly they've learned their stuff. Clearly they are on top of things. And just, such a good season. I love it. It's so good. It's so good to see things moving forward and new conflicts being introduced without total stupidity. We see that Tyrese is kind of coming back into his own place, and again that these decisions are able to be made about who's staying and who's going and what the motivations are, and then we see at the end as the group splits, and it's kind of this calm and peaceful goodbye. Again, not something we get often. Rick looks at the map, and Abraham left him a little note that the new world needs a Rick Grimes, and I hope that means that we'll see him arrive safely at the shores of the end. Yeah, and I it was just such a phenomenal, such a well done episode. Again, favorite quote, nightmares end, they shouldn't end who you are. He got to say, like, Bob's death was very much sentimentalized, but, you know, we gotta take what we can get. We don't often get that in this show. So that was just super marvelous and good. And I was too happy to even be sad because I knew that we were on the verge of losing him anyway, but just all around victories. Lots of victorious episodes. We got Super Victory, episode 1. Super Defeated, episode 2. Super Victory, episode 3. I don't know exactly what that spells for episode 4, but I'm really excited to see what has been going on with Miss Bethany, and I hope that she returns to us with her mind more or less intact. That would be quite cool. And then, of course, the big question is, are our two groups going to get back together? It's not like the previous season where we had several thousand and they all finally coalesced together at the violent end. But things could definitely get very interesting and very different very fast. So, also love the discussion with Michonne and Gabriel at the end about hearing the voices, and they got to kind of share that moment. Gabriel sort of being invited into the group, despite the distrust that everyone has had of him. And he learns by the end that the house of God is, like any other place, just 4 walls and a roof. And if you are going to have God with you, it is going to be in here, along with all of the very complex and non-black and white decisions that must be made in a world such as this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Leave all of your thoughts and comments below. Anything that I happen to miss, I would just love for you guys to fill all that in. So, you know, clap along if you're feeling at home without 4 walls and a roof. I know that I am. So you guys are amazing. So good. So good. I'm happy. It's cool. The tears shall come. I'm just waiting for the day. So you guys take care. I'm going to just rip the skin off my face. I won't do that. But I will be back before you know it.
Wish I knew what you were looking for. Might have known what you would find.